In the time of the ancient Caloosa Indians, trails were used to travel from one place to another. In modern times, people travel to local trails for exercise and recreation in the great outdoors. Caloosahatchee Regional Park, on the banks of the river the Caloosa once traveled, meets outdoor lovers' needs with water and land trails providing a wide range of recreation.
The trail system itself, whether it's the mountain biking, the horse trails, or even our running trails or hiking trails, are used by a lot of people, not even Lee County residents themselves, but also people throughout the state and even throughout the nation come out here.
About 55,000 visitors each year use the 15 miles of trails that crisscross the 768 acres of Caloosahatchee Regional Park on the river outside of Alva. It is Lee County's leading trails park thanks largely to the involvement of local clubs.
Community involvement here at Caloosahatchee has been very vital. A lot of the park was started through the Saddle Club, being able to get horse trails out here. The mountain bikers were able to piggyback and get their trails out here because of the Saddle Club.
The state of Florida originally owned this tract of land, which was created from the mud dredged out of the Caloosahatchee when the river was straightened. In 1990, Lee County began leasing it from the state.
Well, it was kind of an evolution that came about. It had been state property and we had gotten involved with the state, and when the county took it over, we went to them and said we want to be part of it. We want to make sure that the horse trails stay here and that it gets developed that way, and they were very good, and you know, it happened that way. We were already on the property riding when it was under state ownership, and so then when they got it leased to the county, we were allowed to continue and started working with the county.
8 miles of marked trails are accessible to horseback riders.
It's in a rural spot of the county, so it's convenient for a lot of equestrian users, but Lee County doesn't have a lot of areas for equestrians to ride. So this is kind of special in that respect.
And the Saddle Club helps make sure they are maintained in tip-top condition.
We try and schedule like several work days a year to help clean the trails and what have you, and we're, plan several rides out here each year. So we try and be very active participants. They're a work in progress. It still needs some shade in places, but they've planted trees and, they've matured and things are coming along very nicely.
The horseback riding trails are also open to hikers and runners, plus a separate 5 miles of trails are designated specifically for pedestrian use. And for the Florida Mudcutters Club, the 10 miles of mountain biking trails are worth working for.
Back in 1995, about 6 normal people who were interested in mountain biking were out scouting for some land because there's no mountain bike trails near this area. So they asked the county if they could use the land to build some bike trails. And they worked for 6 months. They came every weekend and they built an original 5 miles of trail. And the popularity started to grow, so the group started to grow. And now we have over 70 members, and we have enough volunteers now that every year we can work on a trail improvement project.
2 times every year, the Mudcutters Club hosts a Novice Day. The events give beginning mountain bikers an opportunity to experience the trails and learn more about mountain biking.
We separate into little groups of 6 so that each rider gets some individual attention, and we work on riding skills and teaching how to go up hills and down hills and over bumps and over logs, and we go over the maps. We invite anybody, beginners to experts. The trail is especially nice because it's a nice, easy trail for beginners to learn on, and it's a good family trail. And then there's some sections that are a little bit harder, and they're separate loops. So the experts can go on where there's more hills and more rugged terrain. And the trail here was dredged from the river, so there's a lot of hard dirt. So the faster people can go real fast on it. The next 2 closest trails, there's a small trail in Northport, and the other 2 are a good bit of ways, Fort Lauderdale and way up in Tampa. So there's some local racing, and we have to bike so many miles a week, so this trail is very popular.
For the water-based Calusa culture, the Caloosahatchee River served as a main highway into the state's interior. Today it also figures importantly in a variety of park activities and special events.
The programs here that we put on at this park include half marathon. The River Roots and Ruts is what we call it here in the beginning of January. We also have a triathlon in the beginning of April, and that involves mountain biking, running, and then also kayaking in the river.
Caloosahatchee Regional Park fronts the Caloosahatchee River along a 1.3-mile stretch. For their river adventure, paddlers can launch their own crafts at the park's floating dock or rent kayaks from the park, which in 2007 became part of Phase 3 of Lee County's 190-mile Great Caloosa Blue Way Paddling Trail. Paddlers can explore the river and its tributaries on their own, or join up with a park program such as a paddle hike excursion to Hickey's Creek Mitigation Park and other adventures.
We have monthly Oxbow Tours where we take people out and we follow the original path of the Caloosahatchee River. So one time it wasn't a straight canal like it is now, and we go back behind the little bends and we kind of explore and poke around some of the areas that people, unless you take the time, you just miss them. And that's where we see the little alligators and we see the nesting herons and all the cool things that you might miss if you just go a straight shot down the Caloosahatchee.
So, like the ancient Caloosa, whose name the park bears, modern-day visitors can follow trails to nature and adventure at Caloosahatchee Regional Park.
We're exploring a lot of ideas on what we can do out here. We're always trying to find something new and fun to do on the water.
Caloosahatchee Regional Park is located on both sides of North River Road off State Road 80 in Alva. The park is open daily from 8 a.m. to 2 hours past sunset. 25 group and individual tent camping spaces are available by reservation, and some of the spaces are designated for equestrian use.